Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. On the agenda tonight, we have John Norum from Europe, of course. I've been to see Europe live, so a bit of a fan, so I'm going to be a little bit biased here. But we're going to be having a look at Europe playing in 2015, so a few years ago, but relatively recent, so we can get a good vibe of how John's doing in the modern era compared to kind of the 80s. But let's have a little look at how he's getting on. So the first thing to note here really is that back in the 80s, John had quite a wet tone, which means there was lots of drive, overdrive on it, distortion and delay and some reverb, and it was a really kind of wet sound. Whereas here, it's totally pulled back in terms of it's dry, and it's kind of just showing that he's not bothered about it being a really clean tone. I always say in my videos that all the great players back in the day, they didn't have the option of having a really wet sound. They just plugged into the amp and played, so they had to be technically really on the ball. And this is what John's doing here. He's so technically on the ball that he is just taking all the gain off and just showing his great technique. So yeah, the first half is faultless, and I think the second half will be too. And there we go. I mean, note for note, he's still nailing it in 2015, but I'm not surprised by that. Yeah, the other thing about this is that the Final Countdown was quite a mainstream hit. It's one of those things that 80s bands, very few of them had big hits that crossed over into the mainstream. And this is certainly one of those. And what I love about this song is that everyone kind of sings along to it, and they don't realize how good the solo is. They kind of listen to it and kind of try and sing along to it, but how technically good it is, and how well phrased it is, and how good the melody is, and the fact that it suits the song really well. And this is another thing that I say about the great guitar players write a solo that just fits the song. It's an extension of the song. It doesn't sound out of place at all. And this is the case with John as well. He's got a great ear for melody in writing a solo, to the point where even the fast bits are melodic, and this is one thing that a lot of players miss out on. They just play fast for the sake of playing fast and don't think about the melody of it in terms of what they're playing over the top of, the chord progression, the feel of what they're playing over the top of as well, the groove that the drummer's putting into it. There's so many aspects to take into consideration. But John, the great solo. This is one of my favorite solos, and this is one of those solos that personally, as a guitar player, I had to get down, because it's actually really technical when you break it down. If you play guitar, and if you've played this solo and worked it out and got it down exactly as John's doing it, then you'll know how difficult it is. It really flies under the radar, the difficulty level here, but it's one of those ones that I really wanted to get down. Also, with Van Halen's Eruption, that's one that I did a cover of here on YouTube, but I really wanted to get that down as well. That was on my list because it was so unique in terms of the notes that were used, and a lot of people on YouTube, I thought, weren't getting the right notes, or at least it wasn't sounding the same as Van Halen, so I kind of wanted to get that one down as well. But yeah, John's was one of those that I just had to learn it, sitting there for hours and hours just getting the techniques down. But yeah, John, really great guitarist, and there's little parts. If you go to see Europe live, they have a little solo section where they show off, and John is really, really technically good. He's one of those guys that, you know, akin to Paul Gilbert, really. You know, he's got all of his techniques down, and the nature of their big hit being the Final Countdown, he really flies under the radar because people don't understand how good that solo is and what else he can play. He's a really, really great guitarist, so check him out if you get a chance. But thanks so much for the suggestion to watch this video. Keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I will see you guys at the next one. Rock!